Hello, my name's Michael Conneely, and this is an important video about Jupiter in our lives. I'm filming it on the 16th of March 2019, but Jupiter is in difficulties for the rest of the year, and in fact Jupiter is actually in difficulties until April 2021. Now this isn't gloom and doom, because it is through perceiving difficulties with astrological information and then growing by working to counter the difficulties that we achieve the purpose we incarnated to achieve this lifetime. Now, Jupiter's immediate difficulties are because he's in the Gandanta zone and receiving two malefic aspects. Okay, what's the Gandanta zone? Well, basically the Gandanta zone is the transition point from a water sign to a fire sign using the Vedic sidereal zodiac. And Vedic astrology must use the sidereal zodiac because otherwise it loses the definition of the Gandanta zones, and the borders of nakshatras go wrong, and many other things. Now the point is, the Gandanta zone is a transition from water dissolving into the void, the 0 point from water sign to fire sign, and then across the void the first flicker of fire. In my opinion, Gandanta effects are plus and minus 4 degrees either side. Although the closer you get to the 0 point, the water-fire transition point, the stronger the Gandanta's effect, and they can be vast. Because basically that Gandanta point creates an energy sense that is immaterial, that cannot give the person confidence about the solidity and trustworthiness of the material world, of this physical psychomental world, that if we have low consciousness we think is the end of the story. But there is a benefit if the person, through learning to deal with the difficulties of having a planet in the Gandanta zone, develops spiritual awareness. The inspiration can be incredible. So my point is that at the time of making this video, Jupiter is about 1 degree from the 0 point, 1 degree from the end of Scorpio, the beginning of Vedic Sagittarius. And I felt it yesterday. I felt the Jupiter energy suddenly drop. Okay, what is the Jupiter energy? Well, basically our lives are in trouble if we don't receive the blessings of Lord Brihaspati, the blessings of Jupiter, if we're not open to the Jupiter energy. And this will happen all through our life if, for example, Jupiter is fallen in our life, for example, in Vedic Capricorn. And of course there are ways of rating the strength of a planet, like Shodasha Varga score, a planet's strength rated across all the Varga charts, the wonderful divisional charts of Vedic astrology, each of which declares something magnificently accurate about a particular area of our life. So I felt the energy of Jupiter drop, and it will stay dropped for a long time. Now the reason for that, well, the dates are complicated and they're set out in the associated blog, so I'm not going to try and trawl through a list of dates exactly. You need to look at the blog for those. But basically at the moment Jupiter is in the Gandanta. Jupiter crosses into the 1st degree of Vedic Sagittarius, which of course is still in the Gandanta. He stations there and he retrogrades again. So there's a long Gandanta period while he retrogrades. You'll have to look at the blog for the exact dates, and then he returns to the Gandanta at the end of Scorpio, crosses into Sagittarius and the start of Mula Nakshatra, and carries on. But things don't get easy. But we'll put that to one side for a moment. I want to say now that Jupiter is in trouble not only because he's in the Gandanta now, but because he's receiving two malefic aspects now. He's receiving a malefic aspect from Mars in Vedic Aries and from Rahu, which has just entered Vedic Gemini because of the change of signs of the nodes of the moon, a huge event which took place on the 6th of March, affecting everybody big time. And so, if you think about it, Jupiter is unsure because he's in the Gandanta and he's receiving two malefic aspects from Mars and Rahu. So that can make him overambitious and aggressive. At the same time as not really having the confidence to deal with a Martian energy. And I've seen this happening. This is the wonderful benefit of Vedic astrology, because it can declare these things, but only if you use the sidereal zodiac. That is not to diminish Western astrology. The revelations of Western astrology using the tropical zodiac are wonderful, but they are geared to our psychological selves. I'm going to be doing a video about this shortly. Whereas Vedic astrology using the sidereal zodiac is geared to the declaration of our incarnational life purpose, our destiny, and all the circumstances that we will attract to constellate around that destiny. Now, okay, what is the Jupiter energy that I'm telling you is disadvantaged now because Jupiter's in the Gandanta? Well, Jupiter is blessing. Above all, Jupiter is sense of purpose, Jupiter is expansion, and Jupiter is finding guru teaching and revelation. Now, when Jupiter's manifestation in our lives is sucked down by the insecurity of the Gandanta energy, we might feel sudden lack of confidence. In fact, I felt this happen sort of yesterday afternoon. But you see, here is the wonder of the perception of Vedic astrology. I knew why. And just to say, I mean, Jupiter is crucial in our lives, and some people have a very weak Jupiter, and that can give them a lack of sense of purpose right through their life unless they heal it. But of course, an over-strong Jupiter can be, you know, glitzy and rah, 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 the sky's the limit, guys, come on. Or, of course, it can simply be so successfully expansive that the other planets can't cope and can't ground the Jupiterian inspiration. But I'm telling you that the Jupiter energy will be weakened by the Gandanta for the rest of this year. And so, okay, how do you deal with it? Well, basically, it's important to recognize it. And then I feel it's important to review what your purpose in life is, generally, and what your purpose and strategy in this phase of your life, in this year, in these months is. And when you feel the confidence suddenly drop, recognize that's happened. Don't let it catastrophize you. Don't let it incapacitate you. That's the very first step. Call on your divine Son to hold your kingdom together, to defend it, to strategize and go forward. Indeed, further steps are, vision work to meet the pure nature of each planet and the gods themselves. And I did loads of this during a social anthropology field study of spiritual forms new to the West that I spent 5 years doing. Indeed, one of the pathways was Hinduism and doing 5-hour pujas in front of different deities, and also relevant highest yoga tantra in Tibetan Buddhist gompas. So what I'm saying is you can, if you have the capacity, make a vision connection to the gods And that can reinstate the energy of a god, which a planet is. It's a face of the divine, a face of the ultimate divine. You can reinstate it in your life. But now I want to go on to explain my statement at the beginning that Jupiter is in some ways challenged, you could say messed up, until April 2021. And of course it isn't really messed up. The challenge is there for us to spiritually learn thereby and to overcome it. And the challenge falls into two halves. Whilst Jupiter is in Vedic Sagittarius, of course he's in with what might be called the Great Conjunction. So the Great Conjunction, and I believe it deserves that term, is Ketu, Pluto and Saturn in Vedic Sagittarius. It finally fell into place when Ketu crossed into Vedic Sagittarius on the 6th of March. Now, those three have not been together in Vedic Sagittarius since Martin Luther nailed his theses to the cathedral door at Wittenberg and declared the end of the Catholic Church in Northern Europe, thank God, and brought in a Reformation. More Reformation was needed than happened, but you know, that's for the future. So the energy of that is Reformation, and since that I've had people, asking for readings because their life has suddenly changed, because the nodes have changed signs, and Ketu is in now with Pluto and Saturn. And of course, because the nodes have changed signs, the nodes have changed houses. So in my case, Rahu going into Vedic Gemini means Rahu going into my 12th house. And one of the manifestations of that is massive increase in intuition and vision work and magical structurings of deity contact, that type of thing, working with colleagues in different countries across the world. But it causes alarm when the focus of your life, the nodes change house, sign and house. And I've just in the few days since, I've had 3 inquiries from very anxious people where Rahu has gone into their 8th house and Ketu into the 2nd, or vice versa. And of course, Vedic astrology traditionally would say, the 8th house, malefic, sudden events, catastrophe, death. But of course it's death and rebirth, and it's shamanic. And remember the great meaning of that energy, the Great Conjunction, which Jupiter will join when he crosses into Vedic Sagittarius, is Reformation. So get in touch with me for a reading if you're in this sudden sort of call to bring in Reformation, if you just feel your world, the prison that you did have, has had its walls smashed. That's not the end of the world, it's the opening to light and inspiration, if you can hack it, if you can perceive it, if you can identify it, and if you can understand it. But of course Jupiter will be transiting conjunct Saturn, as well as conjunct Ketu, when he's transiting through Vedic Sagittarius. Now Jupiter Ketu is great in my opinion. It brings wonderful inspiration, and indeed my wife Maggie, who's filming this, has just had Ketu go over her natal Jupiter, and she's been doing the most wonderful intuitive healing techniques such as soul realignment, future life progression, past life work. It's really sort of Jupiter and Ketu, in her case, has really brought those out. But Jupiter-Saturn, well, that's interesting. In January, I'm in Jupiter Dasha, and I went into Saturn sub-period, Saturn Bhukti, so I'm in Jupiter-Saturn. And during last year, I'd expanded massively in the areas of my work to bring in fulfillment of the purpose coming to me. I have like a really high Jupiter score across the Shodasha Vargas, like a record score, which indeed my other planets can totally struggle to cope with. And the arrival of Saturn's sub-period has meant that I have absolutely, done all the filing, made clear the strategies, grounded it all, and with the help of colleagues now pushing forward wonderful courses, for example, to contact deities and other things. So Jupiter-Saturn is challenging, but you need to know what's going on to understand the weird mix of expansion and contraction. And then, of course, when Jupiter leaves Vedic Sagittarius, he goes into Vedic Capricorn. And of course, Jupiter is fallen in Vedic Capricorn. Now, the point I want to make is the houses in your birth chart ruled by Jupiter will suffer while Jupiter is suffering. The nakshatras in your birth chart will be affected. So, for example, if you have Vishaka ascendant ruled by Jupiter, and we know that Jupiter is in a violent sort of energy now because of the aspects from Rahu and Mars, you could get too bossy and arrogant and aggressive with people unless you hear this awareness. So until April 2012, is it, when Jupiter enters, April 2021, when Jupiter enters Vedic Aquarius, the houses ruled by Jupiter in your chart will be affected, the nakshatras will be affected. So get in touch with me for a reading if you want to hear how to make the best of what could be called Jupiter challenges until April 2021, and particularly now while Jupiter's in the Gandanta. But these challenges are what can make us grow. And it's Vedic astrology, indeed supported by Western astrology, that is a wonderful way to exactly, accurately perceive and get the timing of all this. So go for it. Get in touch with me for a reading. Thank you.